When I was little, I came down with malaria. Unlucky for me, it was the bad kind. I was in a daze the whole time. And at one point they said I was not going to make it.
Malarial encephalopathy. I hear it's pretty common in tropical malaria cases.
Even today, my memory sometimes gets a little fuzzy. Since then, I've had this fear of mosquitoes. When I hear them buzzing nearby, I get jumpy.
Aha, that explains the chain smoking.
See, I thought it might help keep the mosquitoes away, just a little. Maybe it is all in my head. You're the same way, right?
Well, I will say this. I prefer a cigar over mosquitoes.
Me too.
I've got to hand it to you. Takes guts to conquer your fear like that and live a gorilla's life in the wild.
It is nothing. El Che did not let asthma stop him from leading the revolution. Compared to him, I am no hero.
I'm sorry to hear about your dad.
Thank you for saying that. Mi viejo was the leader of the Frente. He was the last of the generation that knew General Sandino. He saw the general's exploits firsthand as a boy. He would tell us stories about it all the time and about how the general was assassinated.
Did you know he was getting money from the KGB?
I had some idea, but I did not have the courage to confront him about it. I know it was a painful decision for him to make.
I can imagine.
Yes, my father was a good man. I loved him as a daughter, and his soldiers believed in him. Thanks to him, La Frente held together even in the worst of times. I don't know if I can ever fill his shoes.
Chico's 12, right?
Right.
Isn't he a little short for his age?
Malnourishment. Food is hard to come by when you're running around in the jungle.
He's got quite an appetite.
I know. I didn't want him to come in the first place, but there was no one to take him in. I had no choice but to look after him.
Don't be so hard on yourself. Sometimes it's better for a kid to be with his family than far away in a safe place.
Thank you.
Promise me this, though. When your fight is over, make sure he gets a proper education. Give him a chance to be something other than a gorilla. It's not too late to teach him something other than fighting.
Okay, I promise. You know what book Chico really likes? The World Encyclopedia of Mysterious Creatures. The Loch Ness Monster, the Yeti.
UMAs. Yeah, I know.
He's still so much like a boy. I worry about him.
He'll be fine. I know plenty of grown men who still go crazy over UMAs.
Are you serious?
Amanda's so bossy. It's always follow me or stay here. The other day she told me, chew your gallo pinto before you swallow. Can you believe it?
Knowing your sister? Yeah, I can.
The enemy could strike at any time. I can't sit around taking my sweet time eating. I'm a Sandinista, just like the others. I don't need some woman telling me what to do.
Some woman? She's your sister, and she's doing the best she can to fill your father's shoes.
I know, but lately she hasn't been doing so good. I should be strong for her.
Now you're talking. Don't you ever get lonely, living away from your mom?
Not really. My compas are my family now. A lot of them are from the same village as me.
So you had plenty of people to take care of you.
Take care of me? I'm a warrior, like any other Sandinista. We look out for each other. That is how it works.
Sorry. Guess I misspoke.
Now we're scattered because of that colibri. Wonder where everybody went. Hey, Snake. If you see any Frente prisoners, please, you gotta get them out, okay? Those guys are solid, every one. You could use them in MSF. Hey, Snake. Are there any jobs for me here at Mother Base? I can do anything.
You don't have to work, you know.
Don't treat me like a kid. I'm a man now.
Okay, then. What are you good at?
Let me think. Everything! Put me on any team. I can pull my own weight.
Well, you are young. You'll probably be a fast learner. I'll think of something.
Anything you need, boss. You'll see. I can fight as good as anybody. The supply staging point is at the eastern foot of Irasu. There's a rail terminal there. They'll probably transfer the nuke from the train onto a truck.
Gotcha. I'll have to catch them while they're moving the cargo.
But you might run into El Basilisco. Keep your eyes peeled, Snake.
An 80-foot-tall walking behemoth. The CIA's new weapon?
Could be. Too bad it's not actually a dinosaur. I think they're testing it up at the base on top of the mountain.
I met a guy in Russia who described it as a metal gear linking infantry and artillery.
Metal Gear.
I've got a bad feeling about this. Like maybe it's connected to everything that's happening here somehow.
The nukes? You don't think...
What else could it be? If it is up there, I'll just have to improvise. Either way, I won't know until I get there.
Watch your back, Snake.
There's a lot of banana cultivation along Costa Rica's Caribbean coast. The area is dotted with banana plantations. Bananas have been Costa Rica's main crop since they were introduced from Panama in the 19th century. They bring in a fair amount of foreign currency.
A real fruta de oro, huh?
See, but exporting all those bananas require a ton of land.
Hence all the plantations.
Clearing all that forest just to grow bananas robs animals of their habitats. I do not know how good that is for Costa Rica in the end. Panama disease was rampant here about 20 years ago, putting a lot of banana plantations out of business.
Panama disease?
It is caused by a type of fungus. Apparently it killed off almost all the banana species that used to grow here.
How could that happen?
Cultivated bananas do not produce seeds. You have to remove and transplant part of the stem yourself. You plant them in the fields.
So you've got acres of identical plants?
See, when one plant is infected, the disease spreads quickly. Species lacking genetic diversity become weak. They grow different bananas today, one said to be resistant to Panama disease.
Paz, you said Costa Rica has no army, right?
Correct. Article 12 of the Constitution declared that the Army as a permanent institution is abolished. It does permit us to organize armed forces for national defense based on inter-American treaties.
Only temporarily, then.
In effect, yes. But in the years since the Constitution took effect, Costa Rica has not once raised an army.
Paz, how does your country defend itself without an army? Especially in a rough neighborhood like Central America.
With the right kind of diplomacy. If we live up to our ideals and earn the respect of other countries, the international community will support us. The 2 times Nicaragua actually did invade, the conflict was resolved diplomatically under OAS auspices.
Doesn't that leave you depending on the U.S. after all?
American influence is unmatched, it is true. San Jose was critical of American policy at the time, but America supported us all the same. It was because we practiced peaceful diplomacy. That is what I like to think.
That's one way to approach it, sure. But there are countries out there who will use force no matter how bad it looks.
Maybe so. I know my way of thinking probably looks naive to you, but it is not like we expect peace without working for it. Diplomacy is a battle in itself, and we have to make the effort to seek out causes of misfortune and nip them in the bud. It was that kind of thinking that got me trapped in their base.
I'm not blaming you. You haven't done anything wrong.
The army was abolished 25 years ago, the year after the Civil War. I learned about the sorrow of civil war from a very young age, the futility of countrymen fighting each other, and the tragedy. Costa Rica learned the hard way. That is why it abolished its army. It decided to pour its efforts into education instead. More teachers than soldiers was the slogan.
Education is essential, no question. Even Che used to teach reading and writing in between guerrilla campaigns.
Costa Rica was poor at the time. We did not have many resources. I suppose we had to pick one or the other. The military or the schools.
So Costa Rica abolished its army back in, what, 1949? Pretty gutsy move for a Central American nation at the time.
Yeah, well, they'd just come out of a civil war. I'm sure they were driven by a desire to avoid another tragedy like Pa said. But I think they had a more compelling reason. Army coup d'etat are a way of life in so many Latin American countries. Imagine seeing that up close.
No army, no coup. Makes sense.
Plus, their economy was in ruins, so they honestly didn't have any money to spend on an army anyway.
Yeah, but weren't they on less than friendly terms with Nicaragua?
Yeah, and in fact, Nicaragua did end up invading. But the Civil Guard fought back and the OAS brokered a ceasefire. The US and the rest of the OAS had their back, and they used it to full advantage. For a quarter century, they survived in the powder keg of Central America. That must have taken some serious diplomacy, even if the Civil Guard is pretty decked out for a police force.
Must be tough to be a country without an army.
Hey, Snake, mind if I ask you something?
Since when did you start asking permission?
So, you used to be part of a CIA paramilitary unit, right?
That's right.
Ever do any ops in Central America?
No, not personally. But there were other units who did all kinds of stuff.
I remember the Bay of Pigs invasion back in '61. The papers had a field day with it.
Operation Zapata. That was the CIA code name. The whole thing went south.
Then there was Che Guevara, being hunted down in Bolivia. I heard the CIA had a hand in that, too.
There were several units similar to mine. MSP, SOG. They'd recruit former special forces, train them as intelligence agents, and send them on deniable covert paramilitary operations. One of those units trained the Bolivian army in counter-guerrilla tactics.
And then had them shoot El Che.
So the story goes.